that has a sharp end you could use. A fork works just fine. And I'm going to rough up the surface of the clay. Really, not overly deep, but not shallow. If it's shallow, it won't work. I'm going to rough up both surfaces of the clay. Cutting in little wedges, or cutting in little lines to score that. And what that's going to do when I add the slip onto it is going to join those two pieces together like this. So then I put my slip on the outside here, and you can put that on with a toothbrush, works nicely. And then put your two pieces together. You could put slip on both sides if you feel like you need it. Okay, that's scoring, and scoring is necessary when adding two pieces of clay together. Rough up the surface of the clay and add slip and attach clay. Then you can take your tool, the blue tool works nice for this, get it cleaned off, and smooth your two pieces of clay together. And now I have a hollow egg. Plastic clay is clay that is really soft and workable. So a piece of plastic clay, I can squeeze it in my hand, and I can easily push it into place. Plastic clay describes clay that is soft and workable. Always make sure that you keep it covered and in a plastic bag or covered with plastic when it's at this state, or it'll dry up. So when you have bags of clay on your desk, you want to make sure that you twist this closed and you turn it upside down on itself so that it doesn't get any air to that. Okay, plastic clay. And plastic clay is what we want to work with when we're making our forms. Leather hard clay is after you've let some air get to your project, then it becomes leather hard. Now notice as I take this leather hard piece and I bend it, it breaks pretty easily and it cracks when I bend it in half here. This is also really good for when you're ready to carve in textures. It carves out really nicely when you use it with the leather hard. You get lots of nice incised details. So leather hard clay. Clay which is cool to the touch, but not plastic enough to squeeze with my hand. If I try to squeeze it, it's more likely going to break. When it's in this state, it's perfect to carve into. Greenware is clay that has dried up. This is the same type of clay as this is. But this, all of the moisture has gone out of it, all the liquid has dried out, and it changes a different color because it's dried out. So this is plastic clay, and dry clay is greenware. Greenware, clay is most fragile at this point. It's completely dry and not cool to the touch. A good way to remember this is visualize green eggs and ham. Think about green eggs and ham to remember this one. It has absolutely nothing to do with green eggs and ham, just a way to remember it. After we fire the piece once, it's called bisqueware. And this is the same clay as this. And this has been fired once, and this is bisqueware. And it turns a nice brighter, well, it's a brighter white, a lighter color, whereas this is gray. It's the same kind of clay as this as well, but it's been fired once. Now, I couldn't drink out of this, but this is what we will paint when we're just doing projects that we're not going to eat or drink out of. Throwing clay in the art room is not cool. I have emailed all the teachers to let them know that we're working with clay. You are not allowed to take clay out of the art room. If you're caught with clay, you will not be doing any clay projects. If there is clay thrown in the art room, unless I know who did it, we will stop all clay projects. I am not going to tolerate clay being thrown at all. The first thing you want to do is you're going to get 3 balls of clay passed out to you, and you want to set one of those balls of clay aside for your extra stuff. We're going to make the body first, so you want to set a ball of clay aside for the legs, the ears, the nose, eyes, all the details. So set one of those 3 balls of clay aside, and then you're going to take your first ball of clay and make it a nice, smooth ball. You're going to put your thumb or your pinky, I like to do my pinky in there first. Squeeze my pinky in there, and then I'm going to move my first finger and my thumb onto the clay, and now I'm going to gently squeeze out a pinch pot. Now, the clay that I'm working with should be plastic, but it is cracking. And if it's cracking, that means that it's leather hard. So if I have more clay, I'm going to get a different piece of clay. If I don't have more clay, then I could always put a little bit of slip on there and smooth that out and try to get rid of some of those cracks if it's not too bad. Now the more you play with the clay, the moisture from the clay gets into your hands and you pull it out of the clay. So you make that, if you sit there to squeeze the clay over and over and over, you would turn that plastic clay into a leather hard clay, which is not easy to work with. So we want to get some fresh clay. Since I do have some, you should start off with a plastic ball, but if you turn it into leather hard, I'm going to make you fix that yourself. Then I'm going to take my ball of clay again, and I've got a nice plastic one, and smooth out my details here, roll it up, put my thumb in there again. It was kind of hard to push into the last one. This one's way easier because it's plastic. I'm going to smooth out my creases as I go, and now I'm going to put my thumb inside and my finger's on the outside. I'm going to gently press from the bottom first. I'm not going to press it thin all the way at first. I'm just going to gently go around, and my left hand is turning that as I go. Now there's a little crack there, but this is still plastic clay, so I can just easily smooth that out. It's not a problem. It's not nearly as dry as the last piece. Just keep on moving that around. My left hand is rotating it, while my right hand is squeezing it out. Now what you want to do is make sure that the lip, the top of the piece of pottery is called the lip, the bottom piece is called the foot. So the lip of this pinch pot, which I just made, needs to be no thinner than my pinky or thicker than my thumb. So that's the rule of thumb. No thinner than your pinky, no thicker than your thumb. Then I'm going to tap it gently on a table, not too hard, because I need a nice flat surface to attach my other piece of clay. So you're going to make two pieces, two pinch pots about this size. Then you're going to rough up the surface of the clay by scoring it with a sharp tool. It could be a fork, or this is one of my carving knives. Okay. Then I'm going to add my slip. And make sure this piece is the same size. This one's a little bit bigger than this one. So I'm just going to squeeze it out just a little bit. Now, if I make the rim of this too thin, if I make it really thin like this, that is not going to work. That is really going to be a problem. So I can either, if it's really plastic, I could start over. But if I keep playing with it, I'm going to make it dry. So I'm going to just take this and fold it under. Fold it over a little bit so I can get a nice thick lip there, and then smooth that in. And then tap it on my table a little bit. Okay. Still a little bit thin right there. So I think I'm going to squeeze those together and smooth that out a little bit more. I need to have a surface there to actually score into. Let's measure it. Now it's starting to match up to the other one pretty well. So now I'm going to score this one. And add my slip. And then put my two pieces, join my two pieces together. Take my blue-green smoothing tool and smooth in my connection. So those two pieces blend in nicely together. And there I have the body of my animal. Now, if I want that body to be a little bit longer, I can carefully, want to make sure that my connections are really in there nicely. And while it's still plastic clay, I can manipulate that a little bit by kind of squeezing it together here, gently, just a little bit at a time, to make it a little bit longer, if I needed a longer body, and then smooth that out. Okay. Body of my animal. Okay, now let's look at our tools before we go into the details of our animal. This is a carving tool. It has two ends. Never use this on anything except clay. Do not dig at your table. Don't try to carve into anything except the clay. This end is really nice for scoring with, and this one is especially nice. The scoop end, call that my scoop tool. That end is nice for carving details, insides details, and texture. This is a nice smoothing tool. There are several different sizes of these. All of them will work. The easiest way to clean it off is just take the side of your table or your box here and just pull it across the edge and just get all the extra dry clay off of there, so it'll smooth out nicely. If you've got a lot of clay on there, then it sometimes won't smooth it out nicely for you. When I'm adding my slip, toothbrush is handy for that. This is a wooden stick that is good for adding either details, drawing into it, or making textures. It could also be used for scoring if it's got a nice sharp tip on the end. Anything that's sharp works for scoring. This is a fettling knife. Again, this cannot be used on anything other than the clay. Okay, it can't be used on anything other than the clay. And this is good for cutting pieces apart to get a nice clean edge. Or it can also be used for scoring. This is another carving tool. And this tool, if you're hollowing out something, it's good for hollowing things out. It's also good for putting textures on. So I could just press it in gently. It's a nice scale texture there. And then just a good old knife, which I used plenty of times before I had a whole bunch of tools. The knife, just a kitchen knife, does just about as well as most of these things. The only thing it can't do is it's not as good as the scoop tool. This is my best tool. So what the kitchen knife can do is it really is nice for either adding texture or smoothing something out, because these ridges will take off the high spots, go the opposite direction, and then clean it off and smooth it out with a smooth spot. And that's really nice for getting it really, really smooth. So those are our tools. going to do is a bunny rabbit. And I'm going to flatten his bottom out there a little bit. You don't want to have any space, any negative space in between the bottom of your animal and the ground, because the clay is hard to get it to stand up. So if I try to make a horse and made little skinny legs, that would be really difficult to do. So I want to have it the body sitting on the ground. So I'm going to start with a head, and I'm going to make a pinch pot for the head. I'm going to squeeze it out. And then I have to make some adjustments as I'm doing this because I can't have any air caught in there. So I'm going to take my little pinch pot for the head, and I want it to be a little bit smaller than that. I want it smaller than that, so I'm going to take some of that clay off and redo the head here. Remember, the more you play with the clay, the harder it gets. So you want to make sure that you try to touch it as little as possible to get your form. Okay, does it look like a better size head? That looks like a better size head. Okay, so now I need to score and slip it. Before I do that, I have to punch a hole in here. If I don't punch a hole in there, then my head is going to catch air in there and moisture, and then when the air and the moisture, when the moisture in the air expands, it'll blow up. So it will ruin my entire project if I do that. So I'm going to lay this on here and mark where the head's going to go. Just draw some lines on there where I need to score. I'm going to score the bottom of this pinch pot, or the top of this pinch pot, which is the bottom of my head. And then I'm going to score around here, where I'm going to put those two pieces together. Remember, you have to score and slip. Every time you put two pieces of clay together, you have to score and slip. So I have it scored. I'm going to put my slip on there. And then attach my little head. Now, if you don't want to smooth that out, that's okay. If you want it to be a little bit more distinct, I'm just going to smooth it in just a little bit, not entirely. Not like I did my body, because I want it to look a little bit different than my body. And I can fill it in just a little bit with the slip. And now I have a head and the body. Now I'm going to make the eyes. Now, anytime you make multiples that you want the same, you want to make those first. Make the balls of clay first, and make sure you have the right size, same size. So here's the first one. Here's the first size. Just make sure you can see that. And make another one for the eye. Now I've got one that's a little bit too big. I'm going to take just a little bit of clay off. I've got two eyeballs there. Then I'm going to smash down the eyeballs. And these are going to be my lids. I'm going to take that and cut that in half. And cut that in half with one of my knife tools. Then I'm going to take another ball of clay. I actually got ahead of myself. That was actually the eyeball or the eyelid that I put on. And those look like pretty big eyeballs. I think those are a little too big for my bunny rabbit, so I'm going to half that. My two little eyeballs. And even though that's small, I still need to score and slip that. So I'm going to score. I'm going to put slip on the balls of clay and attach those. And then I'm going to use this tool to make the eye sockets, or the iris. Just poke a little hole in there. And as I look at that from the side, those are still pretty big eyes. You can make them smaller than that if you want. Then I'm going to just make some small little score marks at the top of the eyes to add a little bit of character. Put some slip on there. And then these two little halves that I made here, those will be the eyelids. To add a little bit of character. If I put them on straight like this, you'll have a pretty straight look. I could put them on sideways, and I'll show you some more examples of that, to make him look like he's either happy or sad or worried. Okay, for the nose, I'm going to make a little triangle. Make a little ball of clay, and then I'm going to squeeze it in my fingers so I make a triangle. And score where that nose goes. Put some slip on there. Always score and slip whenever you add two pieces of clay together. And put my little bunny nose on. Smooth that out a little bit. And then I'm going to make my ears. Now my ears, I want to make sure that those are the same size. So I'm going to start with two balls of clay that are about the same size. And then I'm going to squeeze those till I have a long teardrop shape. And everything that you put on, you want to make sure that you don't have anything that's sticking out that's thinner than your pinky. So that's about as wide or as thin as you would want to make it. And make my other ear before I attach that to make sure I've got two the same size. Unless you don't want them the same size, you don't have to make them the same size. If you want to make a little wackadoodle, make sure those are about the same size. Then I'm going to score where those two pieces go on. And slip. And then attach my little ears. And bend them up a little bit to give them a little bit of character. Make this little bunny ear go down a little bit, so he's not entirely symmetrical. Make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, then I'm going to add my legs, my little arms, and I'm just going to make two little balls for the arms. I'm going to roll those out, and then squish them on the ends. And then I'm going to give a little bit more character by taking this tool and adding the claws, like this. Roll it out, squish it on the ends, make my little claws, and score and slip those on. So now I have his little arms, and I'm going to go ahead and attach his arms here. Scored it, now I need to slip it. score and slip. Score this end as well. And then add on the little arms. And you can smooth those in if you want, but you don't have to. Now, the bunny has bigger hind legs than he does front legs, so I'm going to, I'm not sure if I love those arms. I could always change them if I want to. So now I'm going to make the back hind legs, and the back hind legs are going to be a little bit different than the other legs. Those legs are wider at the top, so I'm going to get 2 pieces of clay, about the same size, and I'm going to make wider at the top, skinnier at the bottom, form about that like that, and then I'm going to bend it over for the back leg. And then I'm going to flatten it out so that it's wider at the top and skinnier at the bottom, about like that. And then I'm going to score it and slip it onto the side. Yeah, I'm really not liking those legs. I just took them right off. All right, I'm going to make this other leg here. Flatten it out. Squish it so that it's flatter this way. And then I'm going to score that and slip it. So I score where I'm putting those 2 pieces together. And then attach my little leg, my little back leg there. And then I'm going to add a little bit of texture. Okay, I'm really not liking that either. Flatten that out some more. Maybe it'll look different if I flatten it out a little bit more. It's a little bit better. Still a little bit weird. I'm going to flatten this one out some more so it doesn't stick out quite so much, and then rescore that. Slip it. Then I think I'm going to take these 2 little legs that I made before. I'm going to make those in half. I want littler front legs. I'm just going to make those little balls to go on the front and see what that looks like. A lot of this is just trial and error. Doesn't look right the first time, then you change it. Clay is very forgiving that way. And slip it. Okay, yeah, that doesn't look right either. Maybe that's all he needs. I think we're going to call it good. Except one final detail that I need to put on my rabbit. And that is his furry little tail. It goes on the bootay. Djibouti. Right there. Score and slip it. Apply it on there. And then I have my little cotton tail. Something needs to happen in the front. I'm not sure what it is. Does he need little arms that stick out like that? Or does he need arms at all? I'm not sure. If I change that like that, and then his arms could be up, like somewhere like here. That looks better. That looks better. And I still have slip on there, so I can leave those like that. Now his feet are just kind of pointed upwards. Make those a little bit more cylindrical instead of spherical. And score and slip those little arms. Okay, now I'm going to add my texture. And the little bunny's nose is going to have a couple little holes in the top. Although now I just made him look like a pig. Look, I made a pig rabbit. I don't want it to look like a pig. So I'm going to fix that. I'm just going to smooth over that. Try that again. Maybe the holes need to be down here. That's a little better. That's a little better. That's a little bit more wrappy. Alright, now he's got a furry texture, so I'm going to add a bunch of little lines. And when you make the furry texture of a furry animal, think about the way that you pet an animal, the direction you pet an animal, and think about the way their fur lays. You're not just going to make it go every which direction. It goes in a certain direction. The hair lays on the animal. So it just can't be like random lines. It has to go with the animal. Add some fur at the top here. And then I would finish out, I would cover the entire thing with the furry texture. And you have a little fat rabbit. Fat rabbit, fat rabbit. Alright, our next animal is going to be a turtle. So a turtle has a flat bottom. I've got my body here. And I'm going to flatten out the bottom gently by gently tapping it on the table to flatten him out. Then I'm going to make my little head. And a turtle has a pretty small little head. So I could either make a pinch pot, or I could probably get away with just making a little head like that. Although that seems a little too small. I need a little bit bigger than that. I think I'll go ahead and make a pinch pot for his head. Squeeze out a little pinch pot. That looks a little bit better proportion for the head. So since I have a hollow area there, I have to poke a hole in here to make sure that I let that air escape. Oh, I almost forgot. This guy, I also have to put a hole on him. And because I'm sick and demented, I find it very funny to put it right there. That way the air can get out of our body and it won't blow up. Okay, so our turtle. Let me score and slip on the head. And remember the rule of thumb. You don't want anything thicker than your thumb or thinner than your pinky. If it's too thick, it'll blow up. If it's too thin, then it's likely that that piece will break. I'm going to score around where the head's going to go on. I didn't mark this one, so I'm scoring a little bit more than I probably need to. Okay, so for our turtle, I flattened the bottom of it, so I have a nice flat bottom there, and I might as well go ahead and add the hole. You want to do this when it's leather hard. So if it's really soft still, you might want to wait to put the hole in there. Okay? Then I made my pinch pot head. I scored it. I put a hole in here. Very important that I put a hole in there to make sure that I've got air going through. And then I scored it. I'm smoothing it on. And I actually need my little turtle's head lower. So, yep, I need to move that. So I also need to move my score marks and the hole that I put that in to let the air flow. Score that again because I made it too high. It's okay to make mistakes. Just shows you where you shouldn't have it. Put my little turtle head on. Smooth that in. And then I have 4 little pieces of clay. I made it into balls, make sure that they're the same size. And I'm going to squish just one side of that so it slides underneath there so my little feet come out the side. Okay, so I have 4 of those the same size. I'm going to score those and slip them, put those on. Getting a little bit more smoothing in there. This tool is nice for smoothing in small areas too. And then along the edge, just smooth them out a little bit. Then I'm going to turn them over and I'm going to score the bottom. And then score each of my 4 little legs. Turtle's on his back. Put slip on there. I just felt a little piece of something that was hard, some foreign material, looks like plastic or something accidentally got in there. If you have pieces in there that aren't clay, sometimes they accidentally get in there, just take that and throw that piece away. We don't want that in our project. I'm going to attach my 4 little feet. And then set him down, kind of flatten him out a little bit more, squish those feet on. Okay, and then I'm going to add the texture for the shell, because that's a defining characteristic. You always want to look for the defining characteristic of things that you're making to make it look more like them. So I'm just going to carve in with this scoop tool into this leather hard clay. Oops. That kind of came off. Better smooth those out at the bottom a little bit so they don't squish out of the way. I'm going to carve that in where I want my shell to be. And then I'm going to carve in the texture of the shell. And then shells kind of have this hexagon shape. I'm going to start with one, and then I'm going to complete out that pattern. And that pattern could be a little smaller, but that works too. I've already had the top of that hexagon started. And just complete those lines down. Only have part of a hexagon on that side. And complete my texture on this side. Get that clay out of there. Okay. Alright. So I've got my basic form of my turtle. Turtles have tails. Score on Djibouti for the tail. Flip it and attach the tail. A little turtle tail. Okay. Alright, now I need to do his little face. And turtles' faces, this way now, I've got 3 pieces of clay for the eyes. 2 of them are going to be the eyeballs. I'm going to make this one a little bit smaller. And I'm going to make this turtle worried because he's in a race. He's in a race right now with the rabbit, and the rabbit is winning. I'm going to score where the eyes go. And slip it. Attach my little eyeballs. Squish them in there a little bit. Made these eyes a little smaller. Then I'm going to take my other circle and flatten it out like a pancake. I'm going to cut that in half. I'm going to score behind the eyes. Just a little bit. Flip it. And attach. And smooth this piece out a little bit. Now, I'm going to make him look a little bit worried, so I'm going to put these on the side a little bit more. A little more slip behind the side here. So even small pieces need to be scored and slipped. Everything needs to be scored and slipped. I don't want to smooth this in. I want it to have a little bit of a ridge right there, so I don't want to smooth that in. And then I'm going to use my tool here to make little eyes. And by making those eyelids on the side, on the top and to the side a little bit, it makes him look a little bit worried. Then for the nose, I'm just going to put 2 little dots right there for the nose. For the feet, I'm going to add a little bit of character in the feet by taking the end of this tool, and I could poke that in there to add little toes. and my turtle is complete. I have an air hole inside of this, so the air gets out there, and then I have an air hole at the bottom. And this is also a good place to put my initials. I'm going to put my first and last initial and my hour at the bottom. Okay, so I have a rabbit, and now I have a hare and a turtle, rather. Next one is going to be a pig. So I have a nice little round body for my pig. I have 4 cylinders that I've already made them about the same size. And I'm going to prop up my little pig on those. So I'm going to score and slip his legs. Now this one's not going to touch the ground. Remember I said earlier that these two, they both touch the ground, the body does. But these cylinders are wide enough that it'll support the weight. So then I just need to score the bottom of my pig. And slip it. Slip it good. Da 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 da. Right. And attach my little legs from my pugoo. Whoops, I accidentally put the wrong in there. That's my scored side. I put the wrong side down. Turn it over and kind of gently push down. And I can still see a few little score marks in there, so I'm just going to put a little bit more clay in between so I don't see those score marks anymore. Just smooth it out. You can take a little bit of slip if you need to and fill in gaps. Okay, so here's my little pig body with his little pig legs. And now I have a pinch pot that I'm going to use for his little head, and I made a small little cylinder for his nose. So I need to aerate. Since I have air inside of this, I have to put a hole here before I put that on to make sure that I'm going to let air circulate through the piece. Score it, slip it, and you can put the piece right into the slip, or you can bring it out with your toothbrush or your finger. And I'm going to smooth this on. And my little pig, he doesn't have much of a neck, so I don't need to worry about leaving a distinction between the body and the head, because he just doesn't have a neck. He's a pig. He's fat. Okay. Now I'm going to add on his little snout. Score for his little snout. Score the snout. Put my slip on. Better to have too much slip than not enough. I can always wipe the slip off. Got a little pig nose. Okay, now I need to put the eyes on, so I'm going to get 2 balls of clay the same size. And this time I'm going to make a tired pig. He's going to have bags under his eyes because he's a very tired pig because he has been studying for his art test. So he's like really pooped because he's so tired. I'm going to flatten him out just a little bit on my eyeballs. Your eyes don't have to be the same size. If you want to have a crazy looking animal, then you can have 2 different size eyes if you want. But I want him just to be a little bit tired. So I'm going to put the slip on. I'm going to apply my eyeballs. I'm going to score behind the eyes. Actually, I said I was going to do this below, didn't I? Okay, here's my eyelids here. I'm going to cut my eyelids in half. Smooth out the bottom of this a little bit. Is that going to look right? That looks weird. That just looks weird. That doesn't look right. He doesn't look tired. He just looks weird. Alright. What if I put him on this direction? Maybe he'll look angry. He'll look angry because it's Tuesday. And this pig does not like Tuesdays. I'm going to make him an angry pig. So I have to score it behind the eye and where I'm going to attach it. A little bit to the center. Kind of looks like he's got a unibrow. And then I'm going to put his little eyelids on without smoothing them in so that they're kind of going over the eyes a little bit. But he's going to look angry because now these eyeballs look like he's frowning, look like he's like frowning his brow. Alright, and then it depends where you put the eyes, what kind of look he has. So he's looking right at you, and he is an angry pig. And he's angry now because he doesn't have any ears. So now I'm going to give him ears. I don't know why he'll be angry afterwards, but he will still be angry. I put his little ears on, score those. I made 2 ears, about the same size. I made them before I put one on. I'm going to make sure they're the same size. Put my slip on. And attach my little ear. Put the slip on this one. And attach my ear. Okay. Now, this angry little pig, I think he's mad right now because he probably wants to be able to breathe out of his nose. So I need to put a couple little holes in his nose so they can breathe. Okay, he's still angry. I don't know why, but he is angry. Angry pig, does whatever an angry pig does. Can he swing from a web? No, he can't because he's a pig. And he's angry. Very angry pig. And then my little piggy, he has a little curly tail. Now, ideally, I would make his little curly tail really thin, but because it's clay, I can't make it too thin. Otherwise, it'll just break right off. So I'm going to score in Djibouti. Add my slip, and put on my little piggy tail. Pigtail. And there I have an angry pig. Angry pig. Alright, now let's give him a little bit more detail on his feet. Use the back of this tool just to punch in 3 little toes. So now I have texture on the toes. A little pattern. And I could now add a little bit of texture in the fur. I would do that over the whole thing. If you wanted a razorback, you could like give him a little bit of a raise there in his spine. Alright, angry pig. Alright, next on the menu we have an elephant. This one. Alright, now the elephant, I made a pinch pot for the elephant's head, and the elephants sort of have a ridge on the top of their head, so this is not a perfect circle now. This has a bit of a ridge at the top. So I'm going to attach his head, and again, my elephant, he's fat, so he really doesn't have a whole lot of neck. So I can go ahead and attach that, but first I need to put in the hole to aerate it. Then I'm going to score it. And slip it. Score my body as well. Whenever you put two pieces of clay together, you always have to score and slip. What do you have to do? Score and slip. What? Score and slip. What do you have to do? Louder. Score and slip. Okay. Now I'm going to score on where the head's going to go. And if you're not really sure where it goes, then you can lay it on there like I did for the rabbit. Okay, so I have that piece scored. And I'm going to attach on my head. And I have it nice and aerated so it won't fall apart. Alright, I don't think I want to make an angry elephant. That would be scary. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and add on his feet, or his legs. And again, I'm going to make him kind of like the pigs, but I don't want him too far off the ground, because then I wouldn't be able to support it. So I'm going to make sure that's smoothed in before I go to the next piece, and then I'm going to score. Score my legs. And then attach my legs with some slip. Okay, now, distinguishing features. This could turn into just about anything at this point. A rhinoceros is coming to mind at this point. But I want it to be an elephant, and of course an elephant has a trunk. So, to roll out a trunk, just take your clay and roll it with the palm of your hand. With your closed, you want to keep your fingers closed and roll it out with the palm of your hand until you get the right thickness. It takes a little bit of practice to do that. Then I want to score where the trunk attaches. Score here. And attach the trunk. And then I don't want it to go straight out. This looks like an anteater. That does not look like an elephant. So I want to bend his trunk down. Be careful to bend it down here a little bit. And I want it to go to the ground so that it just supports its own weight so that he doesn't fall over. And an elephant has a little piece at the tip here that they can use as like fingers. So that's another distinguishing feature of our elephant. Smooth that in nicely, make sure that's touching the ground. Then, of course, no elephant is complete without ears. So the ears, start with 2 balls of clay that are about the same size. And I'm going to first make sure that I have them about the same size. Then I'm going to smooth them out a little bit and then flatten them out, my fingers. And if you make really big ears, then they should probably touch the ground. But I think these will be small enough I can make them touch there. So I want one side to be flat enough that I can attach it here. And elephants don't have exactly circular ears. They're kind of more like a kidney bean. Because you all know what a kidney bean looks like, of course. They're sort of bean shape, I guess. Kind of. Kind of, sort of? Kind of, sort of, yeah. Yeah, that. And I want to flatten one side. And before I attach it, I really want to make both of those so I can hold them up to each other and make sure I don't have one ear that's really bigger than the other. Unless, of course, you want to have a lopsided elephant. And I'm going to curve those around a little bit when I put them on. So let me score and slip that. Score. Add my slip. Remember, it's better to have too much slip than not enough. Although if you use too much slip, then your hands will just become all slippery and you won't be able to do anything. And I have the skinnier end going down. So I'm going to attach my little elephant ear. And I really, because that's sticking straight out, so I really want to make sure that I attach it really, really well. On this side. Smooth it in. I really need to make sure that it's attached well. Try to make them look a little bit symmetrical. Symmetrical means same on both sides. Okay, there's the beginning of my elephant. Now he needs some eyeballs. And I'm going to make this elephant I think I'm actually going to make him just a little bit crazy. So I'm going to make his 2 eyeballs 2 different sizes. Make the pancake for the eyelids. Adds a lot of character when you add the pancake eyelids. Take my pancake. Oh, see, I have a crack in that. So all I have to do is just smooth that over. And then cut it in half. Score and slip my eyeballs. Slip. Add this big eye. And then I'm going to add my little eye. And score behind it. Add my slip. Got a little too much slip on that one. Add it to this one. And this one, I'm going to have the eyelids standing straight up instead of over the top. Just straight up, like that. And I want it to look a little bit crazy, so I'm going to make him cross-eyed. Okay, texture on the nose. You could use any of your tools. This one looks pretty nice for the texture on the nose of the elephant. Has these ridges. Now the rest of the texture on the elephant is kind of a rough, scaly, but from far away it's smooth looking, so I don't really need to add anything else to that. Okay, I'm going to add his toes. And his other toes. Whoops, smush that one down a little too far. Alright, and then he needs a little tail, so I need to score Djibouti. Put a little slip on there. Score the tail, apply my tail, and I have a crazy elephant. Yeah, I'm going to make a dog. Okay, so I'm going to start off with my dog. I'm going to smooth out my body. I'm going to make a little pinch pot for the head. Let's see if that one's about the right size. That looks about right. Score and slip. This is a fat dog, by the way. It's a very fat dog. Apply my slip. Okay, and then I need to aerate. Oh, did I aerate my elephant? Nope, I didn't aerate my elephant. I gotta make sure I aerate my elephant. Alright, see? It's glue. Alright, then I need to score to put my little dog head on. And attach my head. And I think this dog needs a collar. I think he needs a collar. He just does. Otherwise a dog catcher would get him, and that would be sad. So he needs a collar. So to make his collar, I'm going to take a little piece of clay. I'm going to roll it out flat. I'm going to roll it out into a coil first. This is a coil. It's a long, skinny piece of spaghetti. Then I'm going to flatten it out. And I'm going to tap it on the edge because the color needs to be a little bit geometric, man-made. And that's not quite long enough, so I just need to add a little bit more to his collar. Just roll out a little bit more clay. Flatten it out. Short up on the sides here. And then I'll score and slip those 2 pieces together, because that last piece I made wasn't quite long enough. Score and slip those together, smooth them out, and just elongate that dog collar. Okay. Alright. And I think before I can attach my dog collar, I probably need to give him some feet. So let's get him 4 legs. Roll them into little cylinders. That looks big enough for my dog legs. Make sure I've got them all the same size before I attach one of them. Squeeze it with one finger and then roll it around your fingers to make a cylinder. Okay. And now we'll attach the doggy's legs. Score. And this piece is already leather hard, so I'm going to go ahead and aerate it. And then add my slip. Score the bottoms of these too. And touch his little feet, little legs. Okay, I already see a change that I want to make in the dog. I think his back legs should blend it a little bit more with the hind quarters. Dogs have a larger muscle back here too, like the rabbit. So I'm going to just add a little bit of slip in here and put a little bit of clay in between those that part right there to smooth that in, because that should blend in a little bit more. Let's see. I'll come back to that and see if I think I need to do a little bit more. Now, dogs have a snout. Dogs and cats have a snout. So I need to add a little bit of clay to the front of his face. Not like the pigs. It's not going to be just a cylinder. It's going to smooth in the snout. So now I'm going to add a little snout here. Just going to add a piece of clay on and then smooth it in. And I want it to be a little bit lower than the middle, because they have this area on their face where it swoops up from the nose up to the eyes. So this little piece, this little snout that I added on, it should be lower than halfway. And it needs to be smoothed in. A little more dog-like now. This is a very fat dog. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and put his collar on. I'm going to score it. Everywhere you put two pieces of clay together, you need to score and slip. He looks like a polar bear right now. If I painted him white, that would just make him look like a polar bear. Alright, and here is my collar. I need to score my collar. Remember, every time you score and slip, you're creating a connection like this. Like this. Like this. Like this. Oh, elephant. And slip it. And then attach my collar. Little doggy collar. And his name's Spike. I'm going to give him spikes on his collar. His name is Spike. Now, of course, the prehistoric artists did not have pets. The animals they would have made would have been the animals that they were either trying to hunt or that they felt like had some sort of connection to them. Maybe an animal they felt was magical or had some sort of powers. Okay, that is a huge collar for that dog. That is a massive collar. But his name is Spike, and he needs a big collar. All right, I'm going to make a little nose. Just going to make a little triangle. I don't want it very big. Flatten that piece out and then squish it into a triangle for his nose. Score it up a little bit. Slip it. Really don't want that very big. Just want that to be a little bitty nose. It's going to kind of blend in there a little bit. Nose. And then where this piece comes up, that's where the eyes are going to go, into here. So now I'm going to make my eyeballs. And score it. And slip it. Slip it good. Da-da-da-da-da. That slipped a lot. I got a little too much slip on there. Don't want that to blend in totally, otherwise it'll just look like it's a lump. I want it to be distinctly the eyeballs. Smash that a little bit. His other eyeball. They're a little off center, so I'm going to try to straighten those up a little bit. Alright. Alright. And then I'm going to put on his eyelids. And I don't know how I'm going to put these eyelids on. I'm going to make the eyelids, and then I'm going to try a couple of different ways and see what Spike wants. And let Spike tell me what he wants. Alright, Spike, do you want it just like that? His sad little puppy dog eyes. Or if I put him like this, suddenly Spike is vicious. Spike's going to the pound. Or what if I put him on the side? What happens if I put him on the side? I think he looks a little bit scared when I put him on the side. Poor Spike. I'm just going to make you a regular Spike. I'm not going to make you an angry Spike. Alright, so now I need to score and slip that. Oh, I put those on the wrong direction. But you know what? I think that looks kind of good. It's kind of hanging out over the top of it. Makes him look a little bit sad. Alright, and then we're going to make Spike looking up like he's begging for food. Alright, Spike, what kind of ears do you want? Spike wants... Let's try and see what Spike wants. Does Spike want big ears? Does Spike want little bitty ears? Does Spike want little ears? Or does Spike want hanging down ears? His name is Spike. He needs some spiky ears. I'm going to make two ears the same size before I attach. My two ears, same size. Score it and slip it. And where do I want those ears? Do I want them on the sides? Or do I want them on the top? Do I want them kind of facing out or facing in? I think... Oh, and it helps to like press those in and kind of cup those ears. Any of the ears that you make, if you kind of cup them a little bit, they look a little bit better. So you kind of make a little bit of a bowl shape out of them, just slightly. I think that's a good look for Spike. What happens if I put them there? He looks like he's sad. He looks sadder when the ears are there. Do I want Spike sad? Spike is kind of looking a little sad. I think I'm going to put those ears a little bit lower and go with the sad Spike. Why is Spike sad? Spike must be sad because he needs a home. Poor Spike. Someone adopt Spike. Y'all know I'm totally sitting here like by myself, talking to myself. Yeah. That's how much I love you guys. All right. So now, let's see. Spike Spike needs spikes. Now I'm going to make a whole bunch of little balls of clay, same size, so I can put spikes around Spike's collar. He does sort of have pig legs. I do think I need to remedy the pig legs. Alright, so now I'm just going to make little areas of score marks. I'm going to attach these 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And slip. What am I doing? What do I have to do when I add two pieces of clay together? Score and slip. What? Score and slip. What? Score and slip. Yes, score and slip, Miss Littlefinger. You have to score and slip. Alright. Now I'm going to take my little balls of clay and I'm going to squish those into little spikes and attach my little spikes. Spike looks like a pig with those back legs. See how the back legs go in and then the booty comes out? It's not really what a dog looks like. The back of a dog has these very strong muscles in the hindquarters. I really need to fill that in. That is not looking like a dog. Plus, he's a little top heavy. He's starting to fall forward a little bit. Look how sad he looks. He looks like he's looking for his next meal. Aw, poor Spike. Alright. This side looks a little bit better, but still, this is more of a smooth line up into the booty. So I really need to change that. And I don't think that I scored and slipped earlier. I really should have. I'm going to score a little bit here so I can add a little bit more clay onto that. Slip it, and then form that on there so I have a bigger upper leg than I do lower leg. Because they really do have strong back legs. That's better. That looks more like Spike. See, that's pig-like. It's very pig-like. Spike is not a pig, and he wants everybody to know it. He is not a pig. Not a pig, not a pig. Doesn't look like a pig no more. After I score, his booty on. Add more leg, add more muscle. Look out. Spike. Right. Let's smooth that in. So he has more hindquarters, stronger back legs. Alright. And the final touch, Spike's tail. So I'm going to take a piece of clay and roll it out. He really does have a wide bottom, doesn't he? See, I don't know if he's actually upset because he's wondering where his next meal comes from, because Spike is not a skinny dog. Spike looks like he's well fed. And score and slip that. And attach to Djibouti. Let's smooth out any spots that I need. And I think I'm going to give Spike some spots. I think Spike needs some spots. So I'm going to incise or carve in just some spots on the Spike. Okay, now that was a bad idea because he totally looks like a cow now. That's why he's upset, because he looks like a cow. I'm sorry. You're not an Aroche. You're a dog. Alright, there's Spike. And do I want him to have little toes? What do the toes look like if I put them on? No, that really looks messed up. Doesn't look great. Smooth it out. Alright, Spike. The sad pit bull. Alright, really not digging those. That really makes him look like a cow. I'm going to erase those by taking some slip and wiping it off. Okay, so now I've done 5 different animal examples. These are not all of the animals that you can do. You could do anything you want. Butterfly wouldn't work so well because the butterfly wings, well, first of all, you're making a form that looks something like this. And the butterfly body is way skinnier than that. So you want to really think about something that has a substantial body like this. If you did a giraffe, you could do a giraffe, but you'd have to be really careful to make it stand. Or a horse. Spike. Spike. So make sure that you score and slip every time, that you aerate the bottoms to make sure that the air can get out when the air or when the moisture inside the animal expands. There has to be a place for the air to expand too. It has to go out somewhere. Oh no, pig didn't get aerated. There you go.